Most gardeners are trying to add fertility to their soil, when the real solution is to multiply it. And here's the mistake that's quietly holding everything back. You're introducing worms the wrong way, and they're failing before they even start working. That failure doesn't show up immediately. It shows up as slow plant growth, weak root systems, inconsistent moisture, and soil that looks rich but doesn't perform. You keep adding compost, maybe even buying castings, but nothing really compounds. That's because the biological engine, the worms, isn't actually established. And there's another layer people miss. Even when worms survive, they often stall because of unstable feeding early on. Raw scraps heat up, go anaerobic, or break down unevenly. That's one of the reasons I started using a 4-liter electric composter for kitchen, smart countertop compost bin. It turns waste into a consistent soil-like material that worms can process immediately without shock or heat spikes. It removes one of the biggest early-stage mistakes. I'll leave the exact one I use in the description if you want to check it out. But even with perfect feeding, most gardens still don't build strong worm populations. And that's where this lost clay slurry method comes in. It sounds basic, almost like it shouldn't matter. But once you test it, you realize why it works so well and why it's been overlooked for so long. Because worms don't fail randomly. They fail during transition. So let me explain what's actually happening when you drop worms into your garden. Every single worm carries a microbial coating from the environment it came from. That layer is adapted to a very specific balance of moisture, minerals, and microorganisms. But when you move that worm into a completely different soil, there's a mismatch. That mismatch, well, it creates stress. Worms stop feeding properly, some try to escape, and others, unfortunately, die slowly underground. You don't always see it happening, but you definitely see the results. No population growth, no increase in castings, and really no real soil improvement. This is why so many people keep buying worms or castings. They're just trying to compensate for a failed system. The clay slurry dip, it fixes that problem right at the source. It acts as a biological bridge between the worm's original environment and your garden soil. Clay holds moisture, binds nutrients, and creates a stable surface for beneficial microbes to attach. So, when worms are coated in this mixture, they transition into new soil without that shock. And, when that transition is smooth, reproduction starts faster. Now, here's exactly how I've been doing it across raised beds, containers, and even experimental hydro-organic setups. You start with real clay, not loose garden soil, not potting mix, actual clay content. If your topsoil is sandy or loamy, just dig a bit deeper. Most subsoil layers have higher clay content. Mix that clay with water until you get a thick, smooth slurry. The consistency really matters. Too watery and it won't coat properly. Too thick and it won't spread evenly. You're aiming for something like pancake batter here. Then you add a small amount of finished compost or existing worm castings. This introduces beneficial microbes into the slurry, which is critical for the transition. The ratio that consistently works is about 3 parts clay to 1 part compost, then adjust with water until smooth. Now here's the part that most people underestimate. Time in the slurry. You don't just dip and remove. You let the worms sit in that mixture for about 5 to 10 minutes. During that time, they move naturally and coat themselves evenly. The clay binds to their bodies, and microbes attach to that layer. When you take them out, you don't rinse them. You place them directly into your soil. And this is where you start seeing the difference almost immediately. Instead of disappearing or going inactive, the worms begin moving through the soil right away. Within a couple of days, you'll start seeing fresh castings. Within a few weeks, you'll notice cocoons if conditions are stable. That's when you know the population is expanding. Now here's something I learned after testing this in less than ideal conditions. This method actually performs better when your soil isn't perfect. If your soil drains too quickly, worms struggle to maintain moisture. If it's compacted, they struggle to move and create tunnels. The clay coating helps buffer both extremes during the early stages of establishment. It gives worms a more stable starting point. In raised beds with mixed soil, I've seen worm activity double compared to direct introduction. In containers, especially grow bags where conditions fluctuate quickly, survival rates improve dramatically with this method. And even in systems where worms aren't typically used, like certain hydroponic hybrids, they can survive and contribute if introduced correctly. Without that coating, they fail fast. Now let's challenge a common piece of advice that sounds right, but honestly doesn't hold up in practice. You've probably heard, build it and worms will come. Well, that only works in very specific conditions. In most managed gardens, especially those raised beds and containers, you're really creating an artificial environment. Worms won't just move in and thrive unless the conditions are, consistently favorable, and that takes time to build. If you want faster results, you have to introduce biology intentionally. That means not just adding worms, but actually helping them establish, because worms are more than just decomposers. They're in a sense, engineers. They create channels for air and water, distribute microbes throughout the soil, and convert organic matter into plant-available nutrients in a form that supports continuous growth. But, none of that happens if they don't settle in properly. Now, earlier I mentioned feeding, and this is where, honestly, many people undo their progress. The first week after introducing worms is absolutely critical. If you add fresh scraps that heat up, you create zones that worms just avoid. If material breaks down unevenly, you get anaerobic pockets that disrupt activity. What you want is something stable, soft, partially broken down material that worms can process immediately. When your inputs are consistent, worms stay active. And when worms stay active, they reproduce. This is where the composter becomes more than just a convenience. It creates a predictable input that removes one of the biggest variables in worm systems. And when you combine that with the clay-slurry method, the results really start to compound. In one of my test beds, I introduced a small batch of worms using this exact approach. Within a month, I didn't need to add more. The population had already started expanding on its own. In another bed where I skipped the slurry, I saw minimal activity and honestly had to reintroduce worms twice. Same garden, same crops, different outcome. That's how much the introduction process matters. And once your worm population stabilizes, everything else improves. Water retention becomes more balanced, soil structure becomes more stable, roots grow deeper, nutrients cycle more efficiently, which means you're not constantly adding inputs to maintain growth. Your soil starts functioning like a living system. That's the goal, not just adding fertility, but creating a system that produces it continuously. So if you've been buying worm castings, or, wondering why your soil never quite reaches that rich living state, this is where I'd focus. Fix the introduction, use the clay slurry dip, control your feeding in the first week, then step back and let biology do the work. If you're serious about building soil that improves over time, subscribe to Fam Logic. This is where we focus on what actually works in real conditions. Not theory, not trends, but methods that produce results. Because once you understand how soil biology really works, you stop chasing quick fixes and start building systems that sustain themselves. Share this with someone who's still struggling to grow their worm population. It might completely change how they approach their garden.